Today we have two very special guests, dear to my heart, pun intended. Welcome, Nigel and Tricia from Real Time Heart Based.
Thank you, Yana.
I
Thank you for coming on to chat onto Uniquely You with Yana. So, the purpose for me of this podcast is to explore everyday people to hopefully encourage others to explore more of themselves. And this is perfect because it seems like the mission of Real Time Heart Based is allowing others to discover more of who they really are. So,
Mm,
perfect match.
very good.
yeah, definitely.
So I've actually had a personal experience of real-time heart-based. I completed what is now Find Yourself, Find Your Way course. And I think I've been working with both of you for about 7 years.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, time
Yeah,
Yeah.
flies.
Yes.
let's go quickly.
So that was when you'd started the business, Tricia.
Yeah.
So when did you come along as a partner, Nigel?
I had my own consulting practice for quite a long time, and I did a master's of international and community development. Then I decided that I wanted to move out of that side of business and actually work and help people make a difference. And the studies I did really led me down that path because I realized around the world, the statistics on human development and how people are really feeling in community. And funnily enough, my son manages the Big Issue here in Adelaide, and they used to do a big lunch every June in the Central Market, and lots of people contributed food and services. The Hilton Hotel contributed staff to serve and all that. So the idea was people paid money for their ticket for their food, and then that money went to help the vendors who sell the Big Issue magazine. So, funnily enough, one of the years, which was 2019, Tricia actually, through a contact of hers, also knew someone at the Big Issue. So Tricia went, I went to support my son, and we actually were on the same table, funnily enough. And this is how life works.
Mm.
So we introduced each other, and we passed business cards and agreed we'd have a chat and meet for a coffee to see where our interests might cross, and it crossed on well-being. So we
Mm.
started developing from there, and then gradually we realized that our lived experience and everything else might mean that we could create not just an organization, but also helpful resources that would help people really find who they are. And both of us had lived experience of different issues, which helped us grow into the
Mhm.
people we are now.
Very serendipitous.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes.
So, Nigel, you've got more of a business corporate background, but as you mentioned, you've also studied community development as well. And
Yes.
Tricia, you've got qualifications in health and um,
Yeah, so
counselling.
my background, I've got a range of different disciplines that I've collected along the years. So I started out with fitness. So I no, I started actually out with teaching. Teaching was my first qualification, and then I majored in psychology within that education diploma. It was a diploma back then, but it's a degree now. But then I moved into the area of fitness. And so I was involved in developing actually quite fundamentally, some of the beginning courses in personal training. That was my part of my role because I was a fitness instructor and I combined my teaching to help formulate some of those beginning courses in fitness. So that was way back. And then yeah, and so from then, mine has been an evolution because I realized that while people were keeping physically well, they were, I looked around in gyms and I thought something is missing here. They did it for, to look good, feel good, but they weren't feeling good. There was gaps. There was something that wasn't. And so I got a real interest in counselling. So I got postgraduate in social science. Just looking at counselling and looking at in organisations and just looking at the health and well-being of organisations. So that I moved through that, and then and it just has been an evolution of coaching, positive psychology, a whole range of different things, because I've been looking for answers, I suppose, as to, that puzzle to, how do we crack it so that people can actually, live honestly and truly, live their lives fully. And it just seemed like there was always a gap. And so that's what's been really wonderful with what we're doing now, is we're really feeling the whole sense of what is it, what can make the difference.
Well, it's probably worth saying, whilst I've had a lot to do with corporate governance and senior management and leadership in business and so on. I've been in 700 different organizations, large and small, including a lot of the icons in this country. And I've actually interviewed and spoken with many, many employees of all these organizations. And one of the things that came out from all this was many people are just not happy. And so, you can put in all the systems in the world. We all work in systems, but even successful companies, they're not everybody's always happy. So I was left with that feeling of what is it we can do that might really address this happiness that people, might be seeking and might be yearning for. And so I guess I came at it from that point of view. And whilst I designed a lot of solutions for organizations, there was this overriding feeling that I wanted to do more for all the people, leaders and others in organizations and in community around the world. So I guess we arrived at this juncture with some sort of common goal, really.
Yeah, a common want.
And how could we get there from there?
Yeah, so it's been certainly a journey to move through that.
And it's great that Real-Time Heart-Based offers support for both individuals and organizations. I feel the older I get, the more I realize that by us all doing the best we can individually, it has a ripple effect, and therefore coming together as the whole makes a big difference. But like you said, Nigel, even if individual people work on themselves, you still need the support systems in place or the organization that they're at to understand the type of work that they're doing and be able to support them. So it's a really good combination of having both, because I think you kind of need both for it to be successful.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you found with your own development, Jana, and you've changed jobs to find the right balance for you in all of this. That having somewhere where you can flourish, where your own uniqueness is appreciated, rather than being pushed to be more like a machine that just switches on, does the work, goes home. It means you can contribute that unique self, your unique self within this sort of team to really produce great results. And many businesses are now trying to decide whether they shift over to AI. So
Yeah.
if we don't differentiate ourselves with our unique gifts and skills and bring all of that into our moments, there may not be enough to differentiate us from AI, whereas in fact we do have a lot as humans to really offer. So part of I guess, as you said at the beginning, of what we really want to do is help people to discover and bring all of who they are to all of their moments, whether they're at work or in other parts of their life.
Well, it took me 41 years, but I finally found my people in my current workplace, which is lovely. And both of you helped me to get there, so I thank you. I love your purpose statement on your website. It says, to support each person to discover all of who they are and bring their heart-led, authentic self.
That's it.
Yep.
One heart at a time.
Yep, that's it. And and that's really how we started. We both came from, I mean, I moved away from a system that was becoming more controlling and more wanting me to fit in to the system. And I was recognizing within myself that I was losing that sense of that authenticity. the thing that I felt I could bring that would be, the point of difference for, the purpose that I was wanting to contribute to. And so, yeah, so it was, for me, it was the catalyst really to start moving into different things so that I could become more of my authentic self and bring what I felt would be helpful for, the organization and for me as well.
And there's no doubt either that if you look at the statistics on what we might call deep happiness, whether that's expressed as well-being or self-harm or domestic abuse, drug addiction, gambling, whatever you want to look at, most of those statistics are actually getting worse. Mental health overall is getting worse as a measure, a per capita measure. And so the question is, why? Why is that? And what can be done about it? So in many ways, I suppose systems surround us in everything we do. And if we don't learn how to bring our own self to everything and pursue the things we love doing in our life, you were saying to us about you wanted to find time to do more of the things you love, which is such an important thing to do, because if we go, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do this when, and most people say, I'll do it when, and they blink and they've retired. And then they're just gambling whether they have the health and whatever to still do those things. So we only have the now. One of the truths of life is we only have the now. We can't rely on next week, next year to put things off. So part of this discovery process is not just discovering all of who we are, but also our wants and our not wants, and trying to make sure that we have more of the wants in our everyday.
And so for us, it was probably a real journey of discovering, why is it that we don't do it? And that began our journey of the development of the online program. Why is it that this doesn't happen? And we looked at our own lives and thought, why is it that we couldn't do it? What was that about? And so that led us to a lot of exploration and a lot of a lot of research and understanding things like human nature and evolution and the nature of the mind and the nature of the heart and the potential of the heart and what we're missing out on because we've got something, we're not working with ourselves, in a way that is allowing us to do our passions or to feel confident about ourselves and bring our authentic self. So this really helped us on this journey of our own discovery, but then the realization of, how do we not only share, discover what this is, but how do we support people in the discovery for themselves. So we were working on two different levels, but the first job was really just to uncover that for ourselves, and then to develop something that could be really helpful for the people that we're working with. And that's why we recognize, like with ourselves, it had to be our own journey of discovery. But
not a telling.
Yeah, not a telling. Yeah. But it was the real beginning of understanding about the heart and how if you stay up here and which we all have done, we all know it all. We all have said, I know this stuff, but not able to bring it into reality, into the feeling, into the, living it. And so that was the journey for us in discovering why is that and how can we help people to discover something else.
And I have to say, you said a keyword before, coaching. So when I came to Real-Time Heart-Based, I had been looking into personal development, I suppose, working on myself for about 10 years at that point. I'd been to counselors, psychologists. I'd done lots of self-help courses. I'd watched all the Tony Robbins videos on YouTube. I had a friend take me through an NLP course because she was a practitioner. I did all the things that I could find. But the key for me was, like you said, not being able to incorporate it into my daily life and not having the tools to use what I knew up here and actually live it. And that was the big difference for me personally with real-time heart-based is you actually provide tools that enable people to use it in their everyday life, which was just an absolute breakthrough for me. So it's fantastic because that's what people need. You know, it's one thing to think what you, even though you don't use this word, should do, and but actually be able to implement it. So yeah, I agree with you there. And also living heart-based, besides both of you having personal experience with that, which I'd love to hear more about today. There's also a lot of science to back this up, isn't there? And anecdotal evidence as well, like the Heart
But
Math Institute and a lot of other
that's it.
places that
Yeah.
can
Exactly.
actually provide evidence to support living heart-based.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean, there's a crucial differentiation between, some people ask us how what we do differs to psychology. Well, you've said you've seen psychologists, I think, Jana. I mean, the emphasis is very different. One of the things we don't do is we don't uh, work with people directly to deal with mental illness because that we're not professing to deal with specific mental illness, but the other parts of why people are unhappy, we certainly do deal with. So, and I think the reason is that so much of what's going on in society is aimed at the mind. Marketing is aimed at the mind. And so most of us carry a lot of lived experience, memories, hurts, burdens, grudges, all sorts of things, and what people tell us. We'll store that somebody said to us once, "You're useless," or "You're whatever it might be." That stays, and
Yeah.
it
It
comes
becomes
up.
a lifelong pattern and you don't even realize it.
That's
It's
it.
sitting there in the background.
That's
Yeah.
right. But the thing is,
Yeah.
we haven't learnt necessarily to understand that when other people say things to us, that's that person's opinion, but also they may have their own reasons for saying it. So
Their
it
own
just because
agenda.
their own agendas. So it doesn't make it a fact just
Mm.
because someone says you're useless that you actually are. But depending who says it to us, it can carry a lot of weight
Mm.
and change our trajectory in a way that may not be good for us. And so when we look at all the reasons that we might be unhappy, much of it might be what we're already carrying, what we've been through, what we've already been told when we've been hurt. And often people make rules to prevent that hurt ever happening again. And they don't often realize that rule is actually now limiting their life. It's a bit like saying, "Oh, I was broken into once. I'm now going to build a brick wall, 5 meter brick wall all around my house. Now no one can break in, but actually, no, I can't see out anymore. There's so many things I can't do because of that." So the idea here is to understand that vulnerability is part and parcel of life. And
Mm.
if we want to enjoy real happiness, we have to also accept sometimes we might be hurt, but we'll learn how to really, live with that as well as we live with the joy. And everything around us is impermanent. So part of this approach is very different from that point of view. And we don't look to deal with just one thing. What we're hoping to do with people, particularly with the course, with the program, is that it takes people through a lot of steps, which becomes very holistic towards these are the things that will help you not just feel happy today, but create this lasting happiness and
Mm.
contentment and peace, because the day-to-day things you will see and deal with differently as they come up, rather than the way you've dealt with it before, which might mean that you do things out of duty. You mentioned the word should,
Mm.
okay? And we do things because we should, and it's like we don't want to do them, and then we say, "But I should," and then we feel bad and guilty and all these things. So part of this approach is to come back to finding our freedom by dealing with all this stuff that we've ever been told or created rules or beliefs or whatever it might be, so that we can find our true loves and wants.
Yeah.
I like your mantra, feel, see, do differently.
That's it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the things that you've been using so far are not working anymore, and you need new things.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
So, Nigel, would you be comfortable to talk about your experience in terms of relationships with family and the decisions you made around that for your own health? The reason I'm asking is because I know people who have family members that they have become aware that the family members are perhaps not treating them in the way they'd like to be treated, but
Mhm.
there's some sense of obligation or guilt around maintaining relationships with them. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, I think a lot of people find it hard to do what is best for them when there is family involved
very much so.
because of that reason.
Yeah, I mean, actually, relationships is a big part of the program, and also things that we did. We actually did a relationship workshop at the library here in Adelaide, and one of the issues that arose, somebody there was, she was having trouble dealing with a relative, and she didn't know how to break free of it, because as you said, family surrounds us with all sorts of things. Some families work wonderfully, and people are close and happy and honest with each other, and diversity's honored in that situation. But other families are fundamentally dysfunctional. My family was fundamentally dysfunctional, and I did not realize at the time, but I grew up being put down, being very tightly controlled, being humiliated in front of other people from a very early age. And so I kind of got used to it. I had a brother, and later on I had a sister as well. And they conformed with this type of treatment where you're out in public and then someone humiliates and does all these things. So it was a kind of emotional abuse, really, but I didn't realize it at the time. So my goal at that point was I need to get approval, because that was the one thing I didn't have. My brother had it, my sister had it, I didn't have it. So it becomes a focus. And it took me quite a long time. I think it was 25, I think, before I started to realize that this is not the right way. So I went and got some help at the time. And part of the help was helping me to see it differently. And it was funny because there was a situation that then arose a bit later on where, for the first time, I saw my parents for what they really were as far as I was concerned. And so all the shoulds, the duty, you must love your parents and all this. But someone said to me, you might have to love them, but you don't have to like them. And so I suddenly realized that actually they're 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 not good for me. And so I went round and sat down with them, told them exactly all the things that were difficult for me, and the changes I'd like to see. And so for a few months, they put 120% into this shift. It was a bit false, really, but they made an attempt for a few months. But after those few months, it's like, okay, you're all better now. We want to get back to normal. So they wanted to revert back to where things were. And at that point, of course, then what's the next step? So for me, it's like, well, if if you can't accept it and you can't change it, the only other thing you can do is move away from it, which is a big decision to make. But sometimes, if that's all that you can do, that might be the best thing to do. And in my case, that was absolutely the best thing to do, because it was a very toxic situation, and I had done everything I could do. I'd been honest and open in my expression to them about what was hurting me, and they went back to that. So I left that situation, and
I think,
I
yes,
yeah,
go
go
on.
on.
No,
No.
no, I was just going to say, it was good that you actually expressed to them
Mm,
how you were feeling, because you did give an opportunity for,
that's it. That's it.
for the heart to say, oh, is that how you're feeling?
That's it.
And have that strong sense of how it was affecting you.
Mm.
So you did.
Yeah, so
Mm.
I think that experience was very helpful because it's not that I would necessarily say to someone else, "Oh, you need to get
Mm,
away from that."
mm,
It would be this idea of making sure you're seeing them as they truly are, understand what impact they're having, and also to have this honesty that
mm,
one of the questions we ask people is do you feel you can bring your authentic self in all these different situations? You've done that questionnaire, I know, Jana. And the idea is part of it is we look at and say, I feel I can bring my authentic self in this situation, but oh, not with family. I have to do something else with family, or not
mm,
with my partner, or not with my friends, or something, or not my workplace. And at the time when this first came to a head, I realized I was probably my authentic self 10% of the time, 10% of the time, which
mm.
is so low in when you consider the conscious time.
Yeah,
And of course, what it does is it brings this churning at night
that's
because
hard work.
you run through all the stuff you wish you'd have done differently, and every day is the same. You accumulate this burden. So part of this idea is to realize, well, if I really want to bring my authentic self much more of the time, I'll bring this honesty, and then let people make their choice. If they want to support that, that's great. If they don't, then I will make a different choice.
Mm.
And
And
that's a fundamental part that we have to accept that everybody will make their choice. We're not responsible for the choices of others. We just make our choice in it.
you talk about choice a lot, and that's super important. And one thing you mentioned there is allowing the other person to make their choice. Because if you're not able or comfortable to express how you feel, they may be unaware of how their behavior may
Mm,
be affecting you. Not that anyone can make you feel anything because your feelings are your own. However, at least then, if you've expressed yourself, you've been true to how you feel about things, and then the other person's response or reaction is then their choice.
mm.
Mm.
And they have the choice to dismiss it or tell you that you're overreacting or too sensitive or ignore it or, put in a bit of superficial effort for a while and then go back to their old
That's it.
ways.
Yeah.
Or decide, oh, wow, I really had no idea you felt that way. I'm glad you told me. I'll, be more aware of how we interact in future. I've got a friend who has a mum who is emotionally abusive, and all of her siblings have cut contact with the mum, and they've had a discussion with her and told the mum how they feel and what the issues are. But I think she feels some sense of obligation to maintain the relationship, and so now she's doing that for the whole family because everyone else has decided that they need to cut contact with her. So yeah, it's interesting. Some people aren't at that point where they're willing to see someone differently or they're ready to have that conversation, I suppose.
Mm.
We
Mm. It's
struggle. This is a struggle. Dishonest expression is a real struggle.
mm,
And politeness is a good example of this honest expression because we're all conflicted about honest expression when we also feel this duty to be polite, and we haven't learnt how to express honestly with politeness. So
mm,
if even the simple thing of what's the food like, and if we don't feel it's very nice, we go lovely. And so it's a practice. This is why we talk about the practice.
mm,
If we want to be a runner or a drummer or a guitar player or whatever, we know absolutely that we have to do that regularly. You have to practice it in
mm,
order to improve and to even sustain, like you drum, Joanna, and I play guitar. If I don't play guitar regularly, I won't have the stamina you've just done some gigs,
mm.
for an hour or 2 hour sets, so you just don't have the stamina if you don't practice. And the same is true of
It's a
this.
muscle.
It's the muscle. So we have to
Yeah,
practice expression, even in our most difficult situations. And yes, sometimes it will come out rough, but with practice, it gradually comes out more naturally and
Naturally.
more
Mm,
easily and less intensely
mm,
as we move down that path. But it's practice. So part of what we bring are these tools you talked about
mm.
to get people into the practice of living authentically.
Mm.
It is a lifelong practice.
It is, because every day there's new situations that trigger something else, and you go, oh, this one, oh, th this has stirred up something. And so it's another opportunity to discover something more about yourself.
And it's ongoing, although I've found, as I've mentioned before, that the amount of time that I spend overthinking or enumerating or spiraling, as you say, is reducing and getting less and less over time. So that's the biggest noticeable difference. I still have triggers and I still have things I need to work through, but at least I have some tools with which to work through them now, and the time that I need to spend is less, which is great. So.
And that is the reality, isn't it? The reality is every day is a new day. So it new things arrive and new challenges arrive, different challenges arrive. So it's not realistic to say that you're not going to feel something about, you know, walking through that new challenge. So it is very normal to, have all these variations of emotions and different feelings. But the exactly as you have said, Yana, it's that the difference is that you can notice, oh, I can see what's happening here with me. I can see what this is. Okay, so what have I got to work through this? And you have those things. And so you move yourself through that challenge, because that is when the real power comes, because you can fairly confidently feel that actually, no matter what the challenge, you sort of know you're going to be okay because you know how to do it. And that's what, we call about that self-dependence, like, because, you know that you've got something within you that can guide you through it. And of course, there's always going to be times where we need to, bounce off people, support us through. But in time, that becomes something that we are able to do. Even as Nigel said, it might be a bit rough, but we can do it.
And
And
this is our vocation.
yeah,
I mean, we will do this till we can't do it
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
and hopefully that's still quite a long time away.
yeah,
So we'd like to reach as many people as we can,
yeah.
and help them find what their happiness is for them. We don't tell people what they must do or what their,
Mm,
so part of this is, as we've said, it's discovery. So for each person, they're going to discover something about themselves or lots of things about themselves and
mm,
their own lived experience, and
Mm.
find their path to their happiness. Because when people feel that contentment and at peace and happiness, they're they've got space to bring kindness to others, to the planet. They've got room to create, to be
Mm.
creative, to bring their creativity to whatever works best for them. And so the world becomes a better place. No one's trying to control anyone or manipulate anyone. And one of the things our program does is it works with the senses. We've all got amazing senses, but we often don't use them. We don't we shut the world out rather than let the world in, because we don't feel safe. So we shut it out. We put music on, we're on our phone, we're playing games, whatever it might be. But actually, when we get to develop our senses and we further develop them, there is so much to really love and enjoy. We can listen for nature. You're a very nature person.
mm.
You love walking in
See the deep
near where
beauty.
you live. You've got birds and all that near
Mm,
you. You've got dogs. You love wildlife. And so there's so much to notice. There's also the ability in that to notice also when you might be experiencing manipulation. Now we know scams are going up and up and up. So a lot of what we bring can help people really get that instinct of this doesn't feel right,
or it
or
doesn't look
it
right.
doesn't look right, or
And
whatever.
senses is more than just the five senses. It's your
Yes.
feeling, your intuition, your knowing, your noticing. And like you said before, Nigel, it's not only about self-discovery, but the course also includes aspects of self, others, and the environment. So
Mm,
it really includes the world that we live in as well, and the relationships, because relationships are so important.
very
That's
much.
actually why I came to Real Time Heart Base, was because I was struggling with relationships in general. So that was the biggest thing for me. It's
Mm.
been great. Speaking of challenges, Tricia, you overcame cancer naturally.
Yes, well, well, sort of natural. I did have an operation, but yeah. So yeah, I was at 44. I was 44, and I was in the prime of my life, and
Oh,
and
good. So I've got a few years until I reach my prime.
absolutely, we're still in a prime of life, so it goes on for a long time. Um, But it was interesting because, it was part of the reason, like for me, I really went down the path of understanding more about what it takes to be well. And so, because I was fit and I'd been involved in sport aerobics, I'd been very fit. That was my industry.
Does that
Um,
mean you wore the puffy socks and the leotards and things?
oh, and the headband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were the state champion for a number of
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. So oh yeah, no, I was right into it.
And you performed in the nationals too,
Yes,
didn't
and
you?
in the national.
Wow.
So I was, sort of operating at a fairly high level, and so very conscious of my food diet and all of those things. And I worked in the industry. So when I actually got cancer, it was a big shock because, especially for people around me, because it was sort of like, well, if you're fit and you do all these things and you got cancer, why did you get cancer? And so for me, it was, it led me to really discover, okay, okay, why did I? And what is that about? And not that you can always discover all the reasons. However, you can, well, what I decided to do after I got bowel cancer. So I did have an operation, cleared out the tumors, the tumor that was there. But then afterwards, even though the recommendation was to have chemotherapy, I did choose to not follow that path. I felt that I if I chose to if I could bring well-being, I was already beginning to understand how the body can heal itself. And the reason why I say that is because when I found out I had cancer, I'd already started to do some meditation, some mindfulness and meditation. And when I got this diagnosis around my cancer, I had 11 days before my surgery. During that time, I realized that I could exacerbate the speed of this cancer traveling through my body by worrying and stressing. Or I could come to a state of being where I could get my body in such a state that I could um, begin the healing.
So how did you know or realize that it was more than physical? How did you understand that worry contributed to the cancer growing faster?
Um, it was it was probably just intuitive of realizing the state, agitation, churning. I'd always had a sense that that is not healthy. That is not the way. And so I just sort of felt that by holding everything calmly, my body could start to heal. And what I did was I actually started to um, meditate and really just know that that tumor was there. And I just brought this energy to the healing of that tumor. And anyway, so that was happening. And so during the 11 days, I was relatively calm. I didn't take myself into hysteria or, anything like that. I just went through the motions and thought, okay, this is what I'm going to be dealing with and whatever. But when I went back to the oncologist after 6 weeks, because 6 weeks after the surgery, you go to the oncologist to, then to start to decide what pathway you will go from there with chemotherapy and all of that. And he said something that helped me to realize my body could do it. Um, he said that it was interesting when we took out your tumor that it had this mass of white blood cells surrounding the tumor. And I was just my I was mind blown by that because I visualized my immune system surrounding that tumor and keeping it at bay and not letting it, get out of control because I didn't know if it was an aggressive or whatever. So, but the way he described it was exactly how I was visualizing it in my
Mind's
mind,
eye.
mind
Wow.
meditation.
Did he say that was unusual for that to happen?
I don't know, but it
Oh,
was just the fact that he said it that it for me it was just enough for me to go, the body can do so much, on its own.
they're literally mind over matter.
Well, what it was for
Not so
me,
much mind, but
well, yeah, but what it was for me, it was this realization that I could go down the chemical road or I could go down the well-being road. And really, for me, it helped me to recognize this is my pathway to practice well-being for the rest of my life. And so that was really part of the beginning of, this journey that we're still on. We're still on in the discovery, and it was very helpful. So while it was very challenging because your whole life turns upside down, there were definitely some gifts that arrived from that, and that was in where it led me in my own journey of understanding, looking at different things, looking at my life, looking at my habits, looking at my rules, looking at all the belief systems, and really slowly just move shifting that.
Decluttering.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Decluttering, yeah.
so
Yeah.
you said that you discovered gifts through that experience, and you have written a few books, but this is one of them. Can't quite get it in focus there, but it's called Our Hidden Gift. But this book actually was about an experience that you had when someone close to you was diagnosed with cancer and the journey that they went through. So
Yes.
was that after you'd recovered from your cancer?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Okay.
So, interestingly enough, I I went through my own cancer, and actually after my own cancer, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and
Wow.
we faced lots of learning through that journey for him. And it's funny, every experience you have can help prepare you for the next experience. And so his cancer and his eventual death was provided some help in terms of me supporting my husband at the time. And so I yeah, it was helpful. It was really helpful for my own understanding and just the way in which I could bring help and support for others.
Absolutely, because I think unless you've experienced something yourself, it's often difficult to know really truly what someone is going through. So that's really interesting that that all happened. You're
Yeah,
obviously supposed to be a support for them at
yeah,
that time.
yeah. No, and really that book. I mean, I wrote the book through the eyes of my experience of the journey of supporting someone through cancer. But really, a lot of my learning and lessons and a lot of the discoveries came through my own healing process. Um,
So they're
and
the discoveries and gifts that you talk about in the book, but the
yeah,
book is kind of written from the perspective of watching someone go through that journey as well. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So
There's
as
also some great recipes in that book too. Some lovely Italian meals.
But that's the realization, it's not one thing or another. When you go through life, it's everything. It's the meals, it's the walking, it's the fresh air, it's the nature, it's the experience. Life is the whole package.
Yeah, it's not just one thing, it's a combination of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not we
So,
don't operate in silos. It's just all an integration.
yeah, because we are whole people, and so
Yeah.
everything's connected.
Yeah.
So going through that experience would have given you a lot of faith in your body.
Yeah, I think what it does is you recognize that it's up to you to put the effort in and the practice in. And this was a very important learning that often, it's once again, know a lot up here. Yeah, I know I've got to exercise. I know I've got to eat well. A lot of people know, but it's a very different thing when to bring it into your life
Mm.
and to live it every day, because we often talk about the concept of the accumulative effect. And when we don't do things for a long time, the not doing things for a long time accumulates because the body keeps the score. But conversely, when you put actions in regularly, daily practices, um, it accumulates and it does help your body to function in the way it's meant to function. So, yeah, I think that was my biggest learning and something that we also draw upon with what we do working with people. It's not one dimensional. It's not
Hmm.
one thing. It's a combination of many things that make us whole. You said about the heart, mind, body, and spirit. So it's practicing many things that contribute to this overall sense of wholeness.
And you've written another book as well.
Oh, that's this one. Have you seen this one?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay, so this one,
Thoughts
this
of the
one,
time.
yeah, this one was actually the first one. It was a
Ah.
small book, yeah. So this was, yeah, it's a thought in time. So what happened with this one? As I was going through my own journey of, healing, how we talk about the epiphanies arrive, the aha moments. Oh my goodness, it's like somebody else may have had that realization before, but until it's your own and you realize it for yourself and it feels very deep within you, it feels like an epiphany. It feels like the thing that just changes everything about how you see the world. And so, what happened during my time of healing when I gave myself the space, the intention to heal basically and to discover. Lots of the little epiphanies arrived, and so whenever they arrived, I would write them down, and and so in the end, somebody must have said, well, they did say to me, why don't you make a little book of those? And I thought, well, I could. And so, yeah, so that's what I ended up doing. And it's been helpful for some people. And I enjoyed doing it.
And we're writing a book at the moment, of course.
Ooh, you're writing one together.
Yeah,
Yes,
yes,
well, Tricia's
yeah,
doing the main narrative, and I'm going to do the background to support the narrative. But
yes,
it's all about the real-time heart-based approach
yeah.
and all the information surrounding it. The stats I referred to.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all little, the realizations, just those, how when you said about the see, feel, do differently, just all of a sudden seeing something, perhaps that is a little bit different to how you might have seen it before, and just realizing that by sharing some of these, seeing things differently, um, and sharing that, something may awaken in somebody else's world. And so everything that is written has is the result of the time we share together in unfolding the concepts and principles through the real-time heart-based. Yeah.
But that's great that it's all being put together and people can read about the whole experience.
Yes.
So, what types of things have time heart-based been involved in, and what things have you achieved? And I know that you partner with other people in the community, and you have regular events on, and you've traveled, and you've donated goods, and tell us about all the things that Real-Time
Uh,
Heart-Based.
well, in summary, we've worked with people from about 88 down to 13 years old, and a very diverse backgrounds, cultures, and whatever in that as well.
Wow, 13.
So yes,
Yep.
so that's been wonderful, working with people. I was going to say that this idea you mentioned earlier about this understanding of choice, that each of us make a choice and we understand that other people will make their own choices. This also applies to people who do our program and work with us and have discovery sessions or whatever it might be, that we will work with them and show people a path to discovering themselves and their wants and whatever, but they're the ones that will choose. They'll choose to do or not to do, to practice or not to practice. And that is entirely a choice for them. It won't be through pressuring or pushing or guilting or anything. We don't do any of that. It's all by choice. And so when people have worked through the program, we did a program with the City of Adelaide, and a Find Your Heart, Find Your Way, Find Yourself, Find Your Way program for residents in the City of Adelaide. So we worked
Did that
through.
happen to be during COVID?
It was
I think it was
it
during
was
at the beginning of COVID.
it was yeah, we did have a lockdown during
Oh, yeah.
that program
Oh, right.
month.
Because I
Sorry.
remember you mentioning that it was really a place for people to connect at the time because everyone was feeling quite isolated. So I assume that was during COVID.
Well, the
Yeah.
other thing that happened is obviously part of Real-Time Heart-Based is Knit a Care Square, which actually Tricia started by knitting blankets, and now there are so many people who knit squares and others who collect them and design them and others who join them. And they're wonderful. I mean, this is a wonderful gift of people giving up their time and their gifts to create these very unique, every blanket's unique. And these go to all sorts of, or lots of people in all sorts of different situations, people experiencing domestic abuse or people sleeping rough, not only in Australia, but over the world. You know, the blankets have gone all over the world. So on average now, I think that there's about 700 blankets a year that are produced.
Wow.
This is about 30,000 squares that are joined together. So, and we get inquiries from all over the country and all over the world, actually. We've had people from the UK as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, New Zealand,
and
South
obviously in
Africa.
most states in Australia, we have people that they do so much because they not only will knit the squares, but they'll also post them at times. So wherever we can, we'll try and create a hub where they are, because we know there'll be people in their own area that would benefit from the blankets.
And it's a very interesting beginning with Knit a Care Square. Because Knit a Care Square is actually a real reflection of the real-time heart-based principles. Because with real-time and heart-based, it's about the moments, doing what you can in the moment. It's not strategizing a long-term plan and, designing and, setting KPIs and, anything like that. So
it's organic.
It's a complete example. Yeah, it is an example of what can happen when we change up how we engage in a project such as this, because the organicness is due to the fact that we ask people, just do what you can,
1 square a year,
whatever that
10
is,
squares a week, whatever.
whatever. Now, the concept of ensuring that people understand this is a well-being project. So by that, it means don't do it under duress. Don't do it with expecting you have to do a certain amount or you have to do it perfectly or whatever. Just do what you can. Live your life and bring it in a way that complements your life and supplements your life rather than it being like pressure or
So it's
stress.
more about the doing rather than the outcome.
That's it.
It's
Just,
the journey, and
but the interesting thing is this is a pure example of how the outcomes can be amazing because naturally, you talked about the organics and the ripple, it just naturally has grown. There's no pressure to grow, there's no rules, we don't try and
all that
make it.
happens is it's organic. People enjoy doing it.
People
They
step up or they don't, and
we also show where the blankets go. So we photograph each blanket and share that on our Facebook.
and that's
That's super satisfying for people that contribute to that.
That's it.
Yes.
So we show the blanket because someone will go, that's my square,
Yep.
right? And we also show where the blankets go,
Yep.
whether it goes
They're
to,
part of
you know,
something.
it's so they know that it's gone somewhere that's really appreciated. I mean, even we've handed out some blankets to people sleeping rough, and we'll see these people because we walk around the city and talk to people a lot. And one thing that people sleeping rough really appreciate is someone getting down and talking and just asking them how they are.
Yep.
It's not always about I have to have money to give them or whatever. It's having a real conversation. And we catch up with people that we gave a blanket to 6 months ago, and they've still got the blanket because
Aw.
they love it. They think it's so unique and beautiful. And that's what's such a wonderful part of the project. So the numbers of blankets have grown most years, but it's not through we have a plan. We've got to get more people involved. We've got to have a committee. We've got to no. It's
Just gentle.
And
Yeah.
just supportive. It's not no push at all.
And I feel that that's the point of difference with this. And, so many people have said that that's what they love about being involved. The world there's so much of the other happening where it's pressure, where it's stress, there's goals and this, and we're all trying and striving, and this is just a totally different feel.
Well, many people who volunteer actually say that's something they feel like when they volunteer with organizations, they will often say they feel like it's more like a job because they're asked what we need you between 10 and 2 or something, and
Becomes
where are
pressure.
you? You didn't show up. It's not
It
like
doesn't have the same
near the
feel.
K-square at all.
Yeah.
There's none of that.
Yeah, so that's part of
Yeah. The other one we wanted to talk about was you mentioned it. During COVID lockdown, we had the idea that we would offer Zoom sessions so that people who couldn't get together one way, they could get together this way. So we spoke to a number of people who had skills in different areas, and they then started off these Zoom sessions. We had Desak used to do cooking, Indonesian cooking. On Saturdays, we had a Sunday morning chat with Jeff. We had Paul, who does singing for fun, where he puts up the words and you can sing along to these songs every Thursday. Tai Chi on Thursday evenings, and so on. So we had
poetry.
Yeah, so if you go to this is why we have an events calendar. That's it. We have an events calendar because some of those things are still going on. Tai Chi, walk and talk, singing for fun, and poetic expression have been going on since 2020.
Yeah.
Wow.
People are still enjoying what they do and still delivering those beautiful sessions. So it's just a wonderful thing. We would have people. I remember one week Paul put on Achy Breaky Heart, and he did this singing for fun at the community centres. So when the lockdown happened, all the people at the community centres came on Zoom. And so they would still get up and dance during the song. So you'd have all these, videos around the Zoom screen, people actually dancing up and all this, and people cooking. They would put
Yeah.
their frying pan up to show
Oh,
what they
that
were
was
cooking.
cool.
And just
Yes.
That
amazing.
sounds fun.
Yeah.
Everybody stayed connected
Yeah.
during that time. And
Yeah.
and for some people who are still, still feel a bit lonely or still feel it's useful, they
Mm.
will still come along to these sessions. And I mean, poetry's been amazing, poetic
Yeah.
expression.
And I think the thing about them all is that they are real-time heart-based principles in a
Yeah.
way that, because um, it's people just giving from their hearts and wanting to be sharing. And the feel of it is what is, uniquely
Yeah.
what did you
Uniquely
say?
heart-based.
Uniquely heart-based.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it
And
is.
I remember I did I think it was Robin. I did it like an
That's right,
Oh,
environmental,
yes.
environment.
sustainable, workshop
That's
over
it.
Zoom during COVID. It
That
was
was another one.
great.
Yes.
We went through making deodorant, and
Yeah.
then that propelled me into making a lot of my own cosmetics and household
Oh,
cleaning products. And I've even made my own perfume. And I love being creative in that way, like thinking, okay, what am I going to make next? And that started a massive journey for me. So that was fantastic. And I also did one of the cooking classes.
oh, really?
I
Yes.
Oh, that was
forget
another
what
Yeah.
we made,
cooking
but
for
yeah,
Yeah.
it
fun.
was lots of
Caroline, yeah.
fun.
Caroline
Yes.
Rowe, yes.
Oh,
That's
yes.
another one that was fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and there was lots of learning, and like you say, that same thing, with the with Robin, what we learned from that, I mean, that for me was just so significant because it really helped me to understand more about the environment and what I could do personally every day to, that accumulative thing to make a difference to my own health, to
And to
the
the
to
world.
the world, to
Yeah.
the planet's health and well-being. And so, it was she had a great energy and really a lot of heart.
And a very
Yes,
practical.
yes, think
Yeah.
that we could do
I
to.
mean, she actually went and investigated. I don't know if they were at that session, but she actually investigated what actually happens to what we put in the recycle bin. Does it really go and get
Ah,
stuff?
Yeah,
So she went right to the source of where it goes and what
yeah.
happens to it, so that she could say, yeah, no, if you put that in, that will happen. If you don't, that will
oh,
happen.
interesting.
Yeah,
So
Because
you
I
really
mean,
do have to take your lids off your containers and,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
separate your plastic from your paper and
yes,
yes.
yeah.
yeah, otherwise it just all gets thrown away.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, we haven't been taught how to do that. But what was great about that, we learnt how to do it, and why it was important to do
Mm.
it. And when we know our why, and the impact that can have, it helps as well. And so I know for me, before it was like, oh, but it won't make a difference. I hear so many people say, well, what difference is that going to make?
Mm.
My small bit. But actually,
It all
if we
counts.
all thought that way, we, we won't get anywhere. But if we all, think the opposite and go, well, my little bit
Does make a
does
difference.
make a difference, then imagine what that would do. So
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
cumulative effect because everybody needs to make an effort for the whole.
That's correct.
that's
It's like
it.
you said, if everyone thinks, oh, that won't make a difference, just little old me,
Yeah,
then everyone thinks that way and nothing gets done. So,
yeah. No, that's
yeah.
it.
Oh,
Yes,
awesome. So
that's
you've
a
got a larger team. So the both of you do most of the content and sessions and courses and Zoom calls, but you also have a team of people that help you as well. So how are they involved? Got some
Oh,
facilitators on the website.
sorry, certainly for Nedis, we have got a team on our side. Certainly for
So are you talking about
yes,
the team for all of these
yes.
community
Well,
events?
we have people involved with Nedicare Square, for example. There are many people who participate in that. We do have people
Mm.
who have joined with us for tenders, and that's what you're seeing on our site.
Yeah.
There is a team. There was a team up there. The page has actually changed, Yana, but there are people that will happily work with us
Yes.
should there be a large,
Yeah.
tender or proposal that requires more than just us. And we will always consider growing organically.
Mm.
And wherever we can, we want to elevate somebody who can really practice this heart-based way, in their unique way. Because the most helpful thing for other people is to see somebody who's working on themselves and
Yeah.
and has that sense of where they,
Yeah.
what they need to do.
I think
Apologies, that was my mistake. You're right. It has changed because you've updated your website.
yeah.
That's it.
But this is the most significant thing, is that we recognize that when people work on themselves, that is the factor that makes a difference in this. Because if you look at, it doesn't matter what profession you're in. You could be a teacher, you could be a priest, you could be a policeman, won't matter. Um, when you carry things that um, create vulnerabilities in you, or create practices that might be harming yourself and others, that comes with you no matter what job you're in. It follows you around, because the attractive part about what this process is it's for each person, because that person can make a big difference to what they bring in their teaching role, in their in their counseling role, in their police role, when they are aware of their own um, things that um, are not doing well for themselves or others. So,
So it's personal responsibility and really looking at what you can choose and you can change and you can control.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's very empowering because sometimes you can't help how other people respond or the environment that you're in sometimes, or the circumstances in which you have to, navigate through. But I guess the most important thing is you always have a choice, because a lot of
correct.
people feel like they don't have a choice, or they feel stuck, or they feel trapped. But there's always a choice. Like you mentioned before, Nigel, you can accept, change, or move. There's
Mm,
always those options.
yeah.
And the other thing we do offer is we offer free podcasts, which
Oh, yeah.
we we probably average one every 2 weeks. Sometimes we'll do two in a week, depending on what's going on and how, I suppose, what
We
triggers us
yeah.
into,
We work
life
in real
happens,
time.
life happens. And when something comes up that we feel would be a good podcast,
We just do it.
like, for example, we've just realized that we'll probably do one on sleeping next week, and talk about sleeping, because during the time I described to you, I was a terrible sleeper because I would churn during the night. So how have we now arrived at this idea of sleeping? Because it's another issue that many people face, and they don't
Mm,
necessarily, outside of taking tablets or something, what can you do? So, like most things, ultimately it comes down to what you said, Jana. It comes down to choice. It comes down to us making a choice. So,
mm,
yeah, we have our podcasts are on most of the popular streaming services like Spotify, like Apple and Amazon, among others, and on our own site.
mm,
And so, it's interesting. We've got the company we use for this gives us a chart every now and again of the most popular podcasts. And interestingly enough, one of the most popular is Why Don't I Fit In?
mm.
And
And why
um,
don't people
and
like
Why
me?
Don't People Like Me?
Mm,
So they're the two, but it's got very similar
mm,
feel about them. And one of the things I wanted to say, we kind of have markers, like how do you know when you're in your mind and not in your heart? So we provide these markers so that you can notice, and without, you can be conscious about, hang on a minute, I'm slipping into this. And one of the other ones that we try and provide is this idea around, um, how do I know how self-dependent I'm becoming? So we don't say independent, because in reality, um, that we all need people for
mm,
some things, whatever that might be. But self-dependent is a different thing. So self-dependent, a measure of your self-dependentness might be that you bring this openness, you bring this heart base, you bring this kindness. But if somebody says something to you like, "Oh, you're useless," right? Instead of being devastated by that and sitting down and going, oh, what am I doing? You would say, okay, that's your opinion. You might even be open enough to say, why do you say that? Okay. But the one thing you wouldn't do is put weight on it and say, that's gospel. That person said it, I'm useless. So
Yeah.
that's an example of this journey, like the one you're on, Yana, the journey of getting to know the self, growing, becoming more self-dependent, becoming more heart-based, and living in that way is that you'll notice that some of these things that might have devastated you before might become just a point of curiosity rather than a destructive device to you.
Mm. Yeah, and part of that self-dependence also is, making choices of where to get your information from, who to gravitate to. So, so yes,
Yeah,
we
discernment is a good example.
discernment.
Mm. Discernment's a
Okay,
big one, especially
absolutely.
now.
Absolutely. And so that's part of self-dependence, is that ability to discern, that ability to make choices that work for you. But even that is a journey of discovery. How do you learn that discernment? You test it, so it's a discovery process. And so but that leads you towards self-dependence because you've done the work to test
Well, a
different
good
things.
example of self-dependence was your choice, Jana, not to have the vaccine. That was like Tricia, you decided not to have chemo, even though
Yeah.
everybody was going, have it, have it. You made a choice not to have the COVID vaccine for your reasons, and you'd researched it, you'd looked into it, and you'd arrived at your choice. It wasn't necessarily everyone else's choice, but
Yeah, that was a
you
really independent, self-reliant choice that I
yeah,
made.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because all external information, people, forces were saying that it was the wrong choice. So much so that a family member sat me down and said, I'm really concerned. I think you're making the wrong choice.
Mm. Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
still here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're here to tell the
that's
story.
right.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm still here to tell my story.
so the
Yeah.
self-dependent part of that, and
Yeah.
that's why we use the word self-dependence, is that you brought that openness. It wasn't like you were closed to it.
Yeah.
If some new information had arisen that
Mm.
might have tipped your decision, you'd have tipped your decision. But you were self-dependent in that you made that choice. You knew that other people wouldn't agree with you, but you were okay with it.
Mm.
Yeah, because I had looked into things and um, researched a little bit and weighed everything up and discussed it and ultimately trusted how I felt about it, which I'm really grateful that I did because at the end of the day, I have to live with myself every day. So I'm glad I did what I felt was right for me.
I
Yeah.
love I love that, Yana, that you're the only person that has to live with yourself. And so that's why what we do is so important. Our choices are important because we have to live with ourselves.
So speaking of selves, the Find Yourself, Find Your Way course,
Hmm.
um, if people enroll in that, do they get access to the content ongoing?
They do. So two things happen. We've now shortened it to 3 months, and we'll explain why. Because what's happened is some people start it, and then because they life pressures them, they drop it, so they don't get any continuity. And the program itself has lots of practices and activities, and you'll see there are three levels: level level zero is level one, level two. Level zero is what we call foundation. And so for many people, foundation might be enough. And the foundation module, which in your parlance, Jana, is modules 1 and 2, they and we've enhanced the first module as well. They very much provide a lot
The
of the
principle.
practice and principles that really make the most difference, if you like. And so what that program also now comes with, or that course comes with, is 3 sessions with us. There'll be a discovery session at the beginning. There'll be one during the halfway through, roughly, or at a most suitable time for that person, and one at the end to review the learning and help someone with what they got from it and what their next steps might be. So we found that from learning from all the people that have done the program's experiences to date, that having some involvement during that time might be helpful.
Is helpful.
So people don't miss the practice or the nuance of a particular piece of information there.
So they have access to the
but they'll have access to the content for life. It's just that these sessions, and we would like them to work through the program over a 3-month period so that they have covered
you get momentum.
Yeah.
And they're building on something rather than, oh, I did that slide 6 months ago, I can't remember what it was, and now I'm on something else. So that's the 3-month period. But after that, the idea is, like you found, it's a resource. So you can go back any time and say, yes, I've realized I'm not working on my freedom. I'll go and have a look at freedom again and see what the practice is for that. So yes.
I love that idea that it's a lifelong journey, so therefore you get lifetime access.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's a really useful resource, which I should use more often.
Well, it is always there for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always
And
there.
that's the point of it. And the other part of it is we do offer some sessions if someone just wants to have a discovery session, for example. That's a way that someone might learn a bit more about themselves and understand how we would approach it with them. So it's gives them a bit of a taste of what they might want if they just want to have sessions and don't want to do the course. The course is very useful material, so it's always useful to have the course material there. But if someone just wants a few sessions to work through some particular issues, then that's something we offer with personal support sessions. And we have a few types there that they can book a coaching session, a discovery session, or just a general personal support session. And the calendar's there so they can book it, pay for it, and attend it.
Okay.
So they don't have to, they can just go through that themselves, decide which one they want. And the other thing we're offering at the moment is we're offering a free introductory short chat, really. So if someone just wanted to find out a bit more and just wanted to know us a bit better, they can just have a free chat. We're obviously not going to work through much in that. But again, it's more just to get to know a bit.
And understand, sort of helpful for being aware of how we would be working with someone.
Yeah. What would you do about this, or how would you approach that?
Go about it.
Something like that. So that before they, engage, we recognize choice, and so it's important for us that people want to do this. They're not doing it out of forcing or being coerced or being promised miracles or whatever. They want to do it.
I would love everyone to do this course or to connect with you both, but unfortunately people need to be ready and they need to choose.
They do. That's exactly
absolutely right. And for whatever reason, if they're not, it may not be the pathway for them. But when they're ready and when they are prepared to, look, I want to really give something different a go. I want to practice. I'm prepared to put in the effort. I want this. I want to feel different. I want to experience life differently. These are the people that that are going to be attracted to this type of approach.
And also,
if someone is looking for a quick fix, it's not the way. This isn't.
But also, you mentioned feel. That's the biggest difference I found with real-time heart-based versus all the other, for lack of a better term, self-help modalities that I'd looked into, was none of them mentioned how you feel. They all mentioned what you think and what you do and, research around the body, but none of it actually delved into your feelings, which is so important. Emotion, energy, emotion, like how you feel is such a huge part of life. And thoughts, feelings, actions. So feelings are pretty important. So I found that was the major difference to me. And also connecting with people, sometimes it took me 10 years of people saying the same thing to me before it finally registered and I really could take it on board and start to accept it and do something with it. But it wasn't until I did the course initially with you, Tricia, and then again later on with Nigel as well, that it actually made sense to me. I don't know why, but it's in the way that you present the information just really helped me to absorb it a lot better than I had previously. So yeah, I found it really useful.
Well, look
Yeah.
at you now. You're running your own podcast. You've just come back
It's
from
amazing.
Bathurst with the Lady Beatles, and you know, uh, booked out twice
Yeah.
Do sold out
there.
shows, yes.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
These experiences that you're having. You're
Yeah.
you're you're in a workplace that is clearly, providing that supportive environment for you to thrive there too,
Yeah.
which is just
And that's
wonderful.
what's wonderful because, seeing your potential, I mean, all of you is coming out, is being
Blossom.
shared,
Yeah,
is blossoming,
yeah.
in all the things that you're doing. And that's really
That's
that's
your
the
work. That's the work you've done.
yeah. And yeah, that's right. You have done that because even though this is self-discovery and we will guide through that, the only person that can do it is yourself, and that's what you've done. So and to see the
True, although I feel having the right tools definitely helped.
it
So
is.
I like to ask everyone this question. Speaking of being more of you, what do you feel makes you uniquely you?
Go
Yeah.
for it. No, you go.
What makes me uniquely me? I I think I'm prepared now to share who I am, So I think the unique part about me is that I'm always at it.
Thirsty for more.
My uniquely me is my passion for uh this journey that I'm on. I think that's part of me being uniquely me. I'm always seeing everything I see, everything that happens. I'm looking at it in terms of growing an understanding of it and how it can integrate within what I'm doing, my understanding of life, my feeling for life. So I think that's a sort of a uniquely me aspect of, I would say.
I would add,
What
uh,
what would you add?
this is a risky moment, Jana, but
There's no editing here, so
I, I would add you love connecting with people and you love connecting with nature. Um, and I think
Yeah,
that is part of the joy you draw from it
yeah.
is that connection
I think
that
I
you
think
feel.
so. I think with everything I do, yeah, I think every experience, whether it's, in nature, with
Mm,
my family, with kids, with, when I've got a cold, when I'm not well,
mm.
whether I'm doing work, whether I'm,
Mm.
so I think it's really taking it all in. And
sounds like you bring all of you to everything all the
yeah, I
time.
think,
That's true.
and I think everything. Um, yeah, everything is there for me to utilize.
Mm,
We have an amazing world.
mm.
I live in an amazing planet and world, and yeah, I'm very grateful for all of that. So
It's such a beautiful, positive, uplifting outlook on life.
That's amazing.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
So how about you, Nigel?
Now chime in anytime here, Tricia.
See,
Um,
because you put me first.
look, I think uniquely me is probably my ability to assimilate a lot of different things at once, and creativity in that I think is probably I can see lots of unique ways of seeing things, something, and bring that, and I can assimilate a lot of things at once. These days, I am uniquely me probably 100% of the time, which is, a big change from what I was
Mm.
describing earlier. And, I'm a bit quirky, and some of my humor's probably a bit quirky at times, but that's probably it. People tell me that I take Well, they say it's what's it? It's uncomplimentary photos, apparently, because I take people naturally, and particularly my kids will tell me, why did you have to take that angle?
That's a
Or,
unique skill.
it's a unique skill.
It's a unique perspective.
I like to catch people naturally, not posing, you see. So yeah, sometimes I guess people don't feel it's complimentary.
Well, I'm still learning how to use my SLR camera, but I feel like the shots that are the best are the natural ones.
Yeah.
And having done years of band shoots with
Ah,
photos with photographers who tell you to pose and look natural,
Yeah,
it's really hard to look natural, actually.
yeah.
not natural.
Well, you've seen my
Yeah.
photos. I've shared some of you with you that we've been to some of your gigs and
Yeah.
taken those. So you've had some of my natural shots.
Yes, true. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Um, so you've already mentioned a little bit about what's happening for the future of real-time heart-based. So you've got a book on the way, which is very
Yep.
exciting. You're still running the foundation courses, I guess, the Find Yourself, Find Your Way. You're now offering personal sessions as well. You have a whole suite of programs available for organizations too, which is
Yep.
great.
We've got a
Um,
special one there. We've got a multi-sensory scan of organizations because um, an organization really truly wants to bring this care of people and planet and really harness all the gifts and skills of the people that they have requires a very different approach to leadership and a very different approach to many organizations justify the bureaucracy based upon compliance, for example. And they'll say, you'll have to fill that form in because of compliance. So part of the multisensory scan is to identify all the things that get in the way of people really contributing with all that they have and bringing all that they are to their workplace. And so that set scan will help people also, organizations also understand how they can comply in a very different way to the way they've chosen. So that's a very important one that we offer. And of course, the other one that you've spoken to us about before is short courses. We offer some short courses which are very focused, like relationships or conflict resolution, communication. So we do offer some short courses as well for people who just want to focus and hone in on one thing or one aspect.
Awesome. And the community events as well, which anyone can attend if they
Yeah.
go to the website and look at the
Yeah,
calendar.
they're all
Yep.
on the events calendar.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
We're both learning Italian.
Oh,
So
Yes.
the idea is,
bellissimo.
well,
Yes.
that's right. But
That's all I know.
what the idea is, I had to go into a presentation in Paris one year for a client, or well, not a client, with an alliance, and that that did me some good. But we'd like to learn a language so that we have a very fluent second language, and Italian allows us to work with some of Tricia's family here and in Italy, so that I, once we've learnt one language completely fluently, a second language, it will open the door for us learning other languages. I'd like to learn an Aboriginal dialect, for example,
Ooh,
and
wow.
so
That'd be
Japanese.
challenging.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I feel it's just adjusting neural links
It's
to
supposed to be really good for your brain and ward off Alzheimer's to learn a language.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I did try to learn, well, I started to learn Hungarian because even though my birth dad's Hungarian and my stepmom speaks it as well, I never really grew up with it. But as an adult, I found it more challenging because you don't absorb information as fast or as quickly. And also not living it every day was difficult
Yes.
because you do a lesson and then you come back 2 weeks later and have to pick up where you left off and remember what you did. But I found the biggest thing was besides learning a different alphabet and different ways of putting words together in different orders of words. For example, English, the language says that tree is green, but a lot of other languages might say that's a green tree.
Mm.
Yes.
The way I use my mouth, I couldn't, to pronounce some words, I actually had to use my tongue and my throat differently. It was
Mm.
super interesting.
Yes. Absolutely.
Italian is very rhythmic.
Yeah.
Go on, say something. You give an example, no?
Che cosa?
There
Che cosa dice?
you go. And it's got this gentleness in it, but it's got this rhythm.
Mm.
So unlike French, which has a lot of liaison, je
Mm.
suis en train de something, so it's a very different style of language. So I think this is going to be good, as you say, because
Good for the brain.
we'll learn a language. We'll probably be able to go and watch an opera and actually understand what's going on in it.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
Yep. A different type of music. So yeah, well, that's part of what we'd like to do. And also, we do have some people in Italy that we have worked with, so that helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd like to eventually operate with people all over the world, and
Yeah.
learning languages will help us to reach people in a way that's good for them.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'll include the Real-Time Heart-Based website link in the show notes. And I'd like to say thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with me.
Thank you, Mummy. You've run it so well. You've steered it very beautifully all the way through. Very
Yes.
well done to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, it's been lovely to be able to, share all the different aspects of our lives, really, personal and how we got together with the real-time heart-based and what we currently do and our vocation and passion.
Thank you for your interest,
yeah,
Joanna.
yeah,
I
Good.
think it's really important because everyone's story is unique and it all feeds into your passion and your work anyway. So, yeah, it's
yeah.
all connected. I appreciate you sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank